with that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, of course, sharing your analysis and insights with us on NewsX World today. On that note, viewers, we're shifting focus away from the war between Ukraine and Russia towards what's taking place within the United States of America. We're now learning that protests erupted in New York City. Activists gathered near a government parking lot to block U.S. immigration officers from leaving for a raid in Manhattan. This action comes as President Trump has sent more ICE officers to major cities. His goal is historic levels of deportations, including long-term residents and people with no criminal record. Now, ICE statistics do show that as of the 15th of November, more than two-thirds of the roughly 53,000 people arrested had no criminal convictions. Critics, in fact, say that the policy is sweeping up innocent residents. The protests, of course, come as tensions are growing over immigration enforcement in the United States of America. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Matthew Wadham, American journalist and author, joining us from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to us on NewsX World. It is one thing to protest and exercise the right to free speech and assembly, but another to outrightly block ICE operations and jeopardize federal government's authority to enforce the laws. In your assessment, will all of this backfire?
Well, I think it already is backfiring. I don't think that the public as a whole is opposed to President Trump's insistence on finally enforcing U.S. immigration law after enforcement fell into abeyance during the Biden administration. I think that there are pockets in the United States, like New York City, where this effort to obstruct immigration law enforcement took place, specifically in the Chinatown area in Manhattan in New York City. I think that there are efforts by, radicals, political leftists, to prevent the federal government from doing its job after many years of the federal government not doing its job. So there are places where people want to stop the federal government from enforcing immigration law, and there are other places too, like Oregon, where the governor just threatened to charge federal immigration officers if they try to enforce the law in Oregon. And this is not going to turn out well for the governor of Oregon, Tina Kotek, I think is her name, and she's going to find out pretty quickly that she can't do that. And there are other places too, like Los Angeles and various other spots in the United States where the government is insisting on cracking down and weeding out illegal aliens. And this is what the law is. If people don't like it, they're free to protest. They're free to ask Congress to change the law. But this is the law of the land, and they are not free to use physical force to prevent immigration and customs enforcement, ICE officials, from enforcing the law. That's not permitted, and those who obstruct law enforcement, are going to be arrested, as some already have been.
Indeed. So the larger point here is that, activist obstruction might, in fact, weaken the sort of deterrence effect that they're trying to bring about, because the Trump administration is maintaining consistent immigration enforcement. Now in this context, I want to understand from you, should then the federal government take steps to ensure that cities and the local administration of these cities do not interfere with the immigration enforcement, and what might those steps really look like?
Oh, they could warn them that if you interfere with our operations, you're going to be dealt with, and you can be, if you actually obstruct federal law enforcement, you can be charged with an offense. With the federalism system that the United States has, states and localities are not obligated to assist the federal government in enforcing U.S. immigration law. But at the same time, under something called the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution. Federal law is supreme, and they cannot obstruct it. So they don't have to cooperate, but they don't have to lift a finger to help ICE go on an immigration raid, but they cannot obstruct ICE from going about its business. And I think, if anything, over time, the Trump administration is going to be doubling down on its policy and intensifying raids aimed at capturing illegal aliens with a view to removing them from the country. And they have met with, as you may have noticed, they've met with tremendous resistance from various state and local governments, and tremendous resistance even within the court system. A lot of judges have issued orders preventing ICE from acting, and most of those orders have been swept away by appellate courts, and ICE has been able to do its job. But there's a lot of resistance from left-wing politicians and left-wing federal judges who think they know better than Congress what the federal immigration law should be.
All right, so requesting you to stay on with us as we're